Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning into my next episode. So what I wanted to go over today was diagnosing the 2004 through 2006 GTO differential. You know, I had a problem with mine. It was giving me some noises, and what I wanted to do was clear up some things that I found when I was searching online over what could be wrong. Now I have enough experience that when I brought it into the shop, I got it up on the lift and I diagnosed what it was pretty quick. What I want to do is I'm going to insert a video right here. Headphone warning in order to hear some of the noises that the differential produces. I increased the audio on the video so you guys can hear it. So if your car's having that kind of a problem, you know right away that your car has an issue with the same thing that my car had an issue with. So I'm going to insert the video here of the play in the differential. Right here, what I am seeing is, if you look, hear that knocking around, it's definitely my differential that's making noise. Now that was the video of my GTO when I had it on the lift and I was diagnosing the differential. Now when I was rotating the drive shaft, the pinion had so much play in it that what I think happened was the worn gears had so much debris in the oil that the debris got into the spider gears and wore those out too. So when I was driving down the road, if I'm going straight, you know, the differential really didn't make a lot of noise, but when I would get to a low speed, you know, pulling in my driveway, coming down to a light, you know, a red light, what would happen is there was so much play that the car would rock and make knocking noises. And then when I would make the turn, you could actually hear the spider gears kind of beating each other up inside the differential. So I'm going to insert a video here now of when I'm making a turn or doing a low speed drive. Again, headphone warning. I increased the video so you can hear those noises. So if your car's making that same noise, you have an idea of you know, what could potentially be wrong with your car. So again, headphone warning, but here's that footage. Okay, so that was the footage of when I was kind of driving the car around. Now, I took a long drive and got it good and warm, and I kind of beat on it a couple times, and it got really loud by the time I got back. Now, you're going to read online, and this is what drives me crazy, is you're going to read online that a fix is going to be put oil in or change the oil, and you're going to put this you know, really expensive oil in, and it'll make it go away, and everyone swears by it. The problem is, if it's too far gone, that oil won't help you. Maybe it might make it go away. I mean, if it's something you drive on the weekends, like my car, something I drive maybe once a month, twice a month, maybe it would have been okay for me, but I don't like leaving things broken, so that's why I'm swapping out my differential. What I'm going to be going with is a royal purple with a limited slip additive. When I'm doing my install, when I finish filming, there's going to be a video of the install of what I put in and how I did it. But a couple little things I wanted to go over was, for example, you'll see that one of my speed sensors for the ABS is snapped off. The reason for this, and the reason I'm showing it, is if you are doing this repair to your car in your garage or in your driveway or even at a shop, pretty much if you do 1,000 of these differentials, probably 900 of them will have these speed sensors be stuck in there. So if you're going to be swapping out your differential, I would recommend taking the entire cover off and putting the old cover onto the new differential, even if it's brand new, because those are probably going to snap. Luckily, they do have them new. There are companies that make them new, but just in case you don't want to spend the additional $100 on sensors or you're in a rush, do not try and remove those. They will snap. In fact, I have a buddy who owns a salvage yard. He had 6 of them inside covers, and he was able to get 1 out, and the rest were pretty much on the verge of snapping. So I told him, don't worry about it. I'd rather him sell them to somebody who can use them as a whole cover with them in there already than get them to me. But that's something you'll be dealing with. Another thing you're going to be dealing with is over here on your axles. You're going to think, hey, you know what? These side pieces pop right out of the differential. I'm just going to unbolt them here and maybe unbolt them here and take this section out. And then what I'll be able to do is just pop them right out of the way, and then I can drop this differential. Well, here's the problem for me. They were so rusted in that two things was happening. One was because they're Allen head, the Allen socket that I was putting in there was just rotating inside. It was the proper size, but they were so stuck that it was just deforming the bolt. I was able to get one or two out. I tried putting heat on them. Again, they were so stuck it just would not come loose. Now, if you're going to be putting heat on those axles, be mindful that right above the carrier for the differential and right above those axles is the evaporative canister. The evaporative canister is for the fuel tank, and there are fuel vapors in there. So ultimately, even though I did put heat on them, I tried being as low as possible in doing it, and I decided against it. It could have worked in a situation maybe where the gas tank was out of the car, but again, the little bit of heat that I was able to get into the axle didn't break the bolt loose. And also, if I went a little further with it, it probably would have ended up destroying the grease inside the U-joint or melting the boot. You know, when you're putting heat on this, your boot is right there. So that was another thing I wanted people to know about. Don't try it. I thought it was pretty dangerous. What I ended up doing was actually being able to drop the differential and getting the axles out without actually having to remove the brakes, the hubs, or the axles. I was able to sneak it out, and that'll be in the video as well to help you. The other thing I was able to do, I came up with a little solution now. Now, on here, you're gonna see that this differential has a bushing. This bushing is actually holding the back of the rear cradle. So if you remove the 4 bolts, the whole cradle will drop. That's great if you need clearance, but it's bad if you're not paying attention and didn't know it was gonna fall. It didn't happen to me, but I'm just letting people know because you might be doing this in your driveway or in your garage, and you might be laying under this thing and it can drop 4 inches and hit you. I recommend supporting this car in a way that just tell yourself you're dropping the cradle. That way what happens is when you remove those bolts and you start dropping that center pumpkin, if you were on the cradle, it could potentially shift the whole car, and you don't want to be under this thing if it's sitting on jack stands. So that's something I wanted to go over with you as well. So support the car a certain way. I like to have 2 floor jacks, one to, you know, just in case the car was falling or something, I have a spare one ready that I could pick the car up. And the other one, what I would do is I would take the floor jack and put it right up underneath the center pumpkin. And that way, if you're gonna drop it, you can support it with the jack and then drop it down. Or if you have a buddy helping you, great. You know, have your buddy help you drop it down and pick it up. I mean, that thing's not light. It feels like it weighs about 100 pounds. So between 2 people, it's fine. If you're one person doing it, it might be a nightmare to get it up where it needs to be and get the bolts in. So the other thing is, you saw in the previous video that there was, you know, a lot of play in my differential. Or I'm sorry, you saw in the clip that I inserted that there was a lot of play. So this one actually has nothing. You know, that's the little bit of play that I have, and that's how you know there's a big difference between what was wrong, you know, what's going on now. So this differential ended up being a low mileage one that I got from a friend of mine who salvages these cars. So I knew I was putting in a good one. You're not always going to be that lucky getting a used part to put in your car, but you know, check the stuff before you put it in. What I did was, in the video of the removal and install, in the removal video, I actually take this differential apart, I clean it up, I check the gear lash, and I also check to see and make sure there's no damage to the gears, and I clean up the cover a little bit. Other thing I recommend, like I got a cover with no sensors, I'm gonna take a Dremel with a wire brush head, and I'm gonna go in here and clean these out. I'm gonna get some fresh bolts because the ones that I had in my old cover snapped, and then I'm gonna finish cleaning this cover up a little bit more. And then in the future, I mean, for me, I'm gonna end up probably pulling this whole cradle out. While I was under here, I noticed that there was a lot of surface rust, so I'm gonna have another video coming where I'm gonna pull the whole cradle out and then redo everything, cover it in POR 15, and then get it back in the car so it doesn't rust out on me over the years, because I plan on having this car for a long time. So that's the other thing I wanted to go over, was those speed sensors and trying to save you from potentially hurting yourself when you're doing this up on jack stands. Not everybody has access to a lift like me, but most people, you know, they're probably going to be doing this in their garage or their driveway to save some money, because if you go to a shop, I mean, if you have a good mechanic, that's great. They've never done it before, they're just going to open up a book and see what it takes to put it in. And if they go with a new part, I mean, a new part from General Motors was, I priced out about $2,300 shipped. The only problem is if they have it in stock, they probably won't. The rebuild parts to rebuild the differential between the spider gear assembly and the ring and pinion, and the seals. I mean, just the side pinion seals are $150. The front seal was, I want to say, roughly $50, and then the ring and pinion was about $500, and then the actual spider gear assembly, I want to say I was pricing out at about $400, and then the bearings were another $500. So it got pretty pricey rebuilding. Now what I might do with this one, this is my original one. What I may do with this one is, you know, clean this up. I mean, you can see it's all corroded and rusted, and it has a lot of debris all over it. And then you can hear it's pretty chunky on the inside. It moves around. I'm gonna definitely take this one apart and show everybody what it looks like inside, damage-wise. I'm curious to see how bad it is. I may actually do a tutorial on rebuilding these. So sometime later on, maybe even this year, I might buy all the parts that I need to rebuild this, because I prefer to rebuild an original part and put it back in than buy a aftermarket one, especially because it's usually cheaper. Though this one does come out being about the same price as new. The problem with new is General Motors might not be able to get it for you. So in the future, there will be another video coming of me redoing this one, or at least I'm definitely going to be taking it apart to see what's wrong with it. So the other thing is what caused the failure on my differential. Well, you know, the car has about 130,000 miles on it, and when I bought it, it had a blown engine and a blown transmission, so I had to rebuild both of those. Most likely, the rear end was beat up just from use. You know, it could have been dragged. You know, it could have been a drag car, could have been a race car. The guy could have just like burning out. Who knows? But it did have those that needed to be redone. So this is just the last part in the drivetrain that had to be done. The other thing it could have been is about a year ago, I took the fluid out and I put in Valvoline 75-90 weight oil, which I read online was the recommended oil, but then now I learned that apparently they changed that. In the manual, I believe that's what it says, but they changed it now to like a 75 or an 85 140 weight. So what I ended up getting was, I'm going to try this stuff out this time around. 75 140 Royal Purple with this Transex Positrack limited slip additive. Now the additive is important. The other gear oil that I put in said it had that additive in it, so I didn't put this additive in, but this time around I'm going to put that in, and hopefully the differential will last longer. So this is the stuff. You can get this at AutoZone. I try to go with things that you can get locally. I mean, some stuff you can buy online. I think there's something called Torch or Torch X or something like that a lot of guys are running, but there's been debates between the two of them, which is better, Royal Purple, I believe it was called Torch X. Or Torch something. So there's debates online. You'll see pretty much every forum you go to about these differentials, you'll see online that that's what they're kind of arguing about. But I don't know, Royal Purple's been around since I was a kid, so I'm gonna just try out this Royal Purple one, especially since it's local. If I have any problems, I can get more. If I run low, I can get more. Oh, the other thing I'm gonna do in the video, when I put it in, this is your fill plug. When I put it in, I would recommend, when you're doing this install, to, for starters, drain the differential before you take the old one down, because what'll happen is when you pop the axle out and the differential sideways, you might get covered in gear oil, especially if you're under it, and it might leak all over the place and gear oil stinks, so you don't want that to happen. And then when you're putting the gear oil in, what I would do is I bought, supposedly they recommend about 2 quarts or 1.5 quarts. What I'm gonna do is put the 1 quart in, then I'm gonna put whatever the recommended amount of the limited slip additive, and then I will put the rest of the gear oil in, because the problem is if too much gear oil in and you go add the limited slip additive, it might overflow because you're full and you might not get enough additive in there. So that's why you should do the additive in between. So that's another little tip I wanted to give everybody. I mean, there's not much more. I'm trying to think, you know, it's hard where to stop telling you what to look out for, because I have so much information in my other 2 videos that I don't know where I should stop talking or things I should tell you, but at least this is a good start. I would recommend this as like maybe a quick little how-to just to get you started, and then watch the other videos when you're kind of knee-deep in it. So I just wanted to thank everybody again who likes and subscribes and keeps in touch with me. I have some projects coming up on the GTO, you know, because I want to keep this car for a long time. And you know, there's less and less on the road almost every day, and I want to keep it roadworthy. I'm going to be doing a lot of things over the years that you would have done if you had maybe a 60s car. You know, there's going to be rust repair that I'm going to need to be doing. There's some surface rust I want to take care of. There's brake lines that are rotting, fuel lines that are rotting. So I'm going to have videos along the way showing what I'm going to be doing. I have some other projects I'm going to be doing, like over here I have this engine and transmission. This is a 4.6 liter. You know, when I was younger, the 4.6 liter was the engine in the Mustangs that you could get, you know, next to the 5 liter, you know, the 5.0. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sticking it in this Miata over here. I wanted to have a project on the channel because I had just finished my Shelby Cobra replica. It's not completely finished, but it is a driving vehicle now. There's going to be footage on the Cobra. It needs a paint job. It's basically a gel coat body. But I wanted to build something like this where it would be a budget build. And what I didn't want to do was do another LS swap. I feel like everyone pretty much does LS swaps mostly on these things. You know, I found one Coyote swap, and I found one guy who did a 4-valve. But I wanted to try and do a 2-valve. I wanted a hard project, and the hard project is getting horsepower out of the 2-valve. And it's such a wide engine, it's actually almost the same size as a big block. It might even be bigger than a big block. But actually fitting that in the car and modifying the car to accept that, and using the hydraulic clutch pedal linkage to actuate the clutch and everything, because it's a cable clutch. I wanted something that was difficult. I like difficult projects, and I like having cars that no one has. I shouldn't say no one has, but I like having rare cars. You know, so other people might have them, but not around here. So that's my next project, and I appreciate, again, everybody liking and subscribing and keeping in touch. You know, thanks for clicking on this video and checking the latest on the garage. And yeah, good luck with your differential.